Hello, it's John Cresswell at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. This is another video in the series on mixed methods research. And today I'm going to talk about advanced mixed methods designs. What I'm going to do in this video is to present three advanced designs. And I'm going to talk about the intent and the procedures of using each one of these designs. And I'm going to identify some challenges in using these designs. I'm going to start by reviewing the three basic designs. In another video I've talked about these designs. First, the convergent design, where we're collecting quantitative data and analyzing it, and qualitative data and analyzing it, and merging the two databases together. We're converging two different databases. An explanatory sequential design is one where we're going to begin quantitatively, such as conducting a survey. We're then going to analyze the data, and we're going to then follow up with qualitative to help explain those quantitative results in more depth. Sometimes we have surprising results from our quantitative data collection, and by talking to some people, conducting interviews, focus groups, we can explain those results in more detail. The third type of basic design is an exploratory sequential design. So we're going to reverse the phases from our explanatory sequential. In an exploratory sequential, we begin qualitatively, come up with some themes, then build to something quantitative, such as a new instrument, or a new intervention, or a new set of variables, and then we test those out quantitatively. So the procedure in exploratory is to start qualitatively and build to a quantitative phase. Now, here's the way these interface with advanced designs. At the heart of every mixed methods project is a basic design. So you need to look carefully to see which one of these three might be operating. These basic designs then are framed by an advanced design. There's something added to the basic design to make it an advanced design. So the three types of advanced designs I want to talk about. The first I call an intervention mixed method design. It's very popular, especially in the health sciences. The purpose of this design is to conduct an experiment or an intervention trial, and then to also collect qualitative data, to embed qualitative data in one or more of the phases of the experiment. The second type of design is called a social justice mixed method design. The purpose here is to conduct a mixed method study using a social justice framework. So this social justice framework surrounds the basic design. And this lens brought in through the social justice orientation helps to advance the cause of a community or an underrepresented group. This is a very popular design in global research around the world. The third would be a multi-stage evaluation mixed methods design. Here the purpose is to evaluate a program or an intervention and to use a series of studies, quantitative and qualitative and some mixed, in order to best understand and evaluate that program. So I'm going to talk about these three, and first of all share a diagram of each one, talk about its procedures, and then identify some of the challenges. First, the intervention mixed methods design. So this is basically adding qualitative into an experiment. Now, qualitative data can be added in at several phases in an experiment. It could be added in before the experiment begins, such as recruiting participants, coming up with workable activities that might actually inform the intervention, maybe helping to design the measures for the pre and post test in the experiment. So it can flow in before. It could flow in while the experiment is running. Sometimes it's helpful to know how the participants are experiencing the intervention so that the treatment could be modified for the next experiment. So it could flow in while the experiment is running. The qualitative data could also flow in at a third point after the experiment is over. From our experiment, we're going to have outcomes, p-values, confidence intervals, effect sizes. We'll know what our outcomes are, but we may want to explain them in more detail. So let's conduct some focus groups or interviews following our experiment to form that explanation. So here are some of the steps in doing an intervention mixed methods design. First of all, determine which type of basic design you are using. Are you gathering qualitative before the experiment so that qualitative precedes quantitative? That's an exploratory design. Are you gathering it during the experiment, a convergent design? Or are you gathering qualitative data after the experiment is over, an explanatory design, where the experiment is the quantitative phase followed by the qualitative? Now it's possible, of course, to gather qualitative data at all three phases, but that leads to a considerable amount of data collection, and I generally recommend that people think about maybe one or two phases where they bring qualitative in. Next, in this experiment, identifying the pre- and post-test measures, assigning participants to the groups, conducting the experiment, and then discussing finally how the experimental results are enhanced by the qualitative data. So what are some of the challenges in using this design? First of all, deciding where the qualitative data collection will flow into the experiment and the reasons for it. It's important that these reasons be clearly identified and the researchers know at what point in the experiment they're bringing the qualitative data in. Another issue in this type of design is that bringing in qualitative data collection, like interviews, during the experiment might actually bias the outcome results. So there have been a number of strategies in the mixed methods literature for how to address that. For example, in one project I'm on, while the experiment is running, qualitative data is being collected or is being gathered by having participants diary or journal their experiences. But those journals aren't collected until after the experiment is over. Another part of this is having a rigorous experiment, a randomized control trial, where participants are randomly assigned to different groups, and there's a high level of control exercised throughout the experiment. The second type of advanced design is a social justice mixed methods design. So this is where there would be either a convergent, explanatory, or exploratory basic design, but it's framed within a larger social justice lens. It could be a gender lens, such as a feminist mixed methods project, a racial or ethnic lens, a social class lens, a disability lens. So here's an example of a basic design. If you look closely at this picture, you see that the researchers collected first quantitative data and then explained those results with qualitative and explanatory sequential. But the entire project is framed by a social justice theoretical lens. In this example, I use a feminist gendered lens, where from the very beginning, women are the focus, the themes relate to women, the outcomes towards the end are very action-oriented to help women with some of the social justice issues that they face. You can see these lines where I've thread the theoretical social justice feminist lens throughout the project. How do you conduct one of these advanced designs? It starts by thinking about what social justice lens you plan to use. Will this be a feminist gendered lens? Will it be a racial lens, an ethnic lens? And you need to become very familiar with the literature about that lens. Then determine what type of basic design you're going to use. Is it going to be exploratory, convergent, explanatory? And then decide where your lens is going to thread into this mixed methods project. And it could thread into many phases. It could be a framework that helps focus the problem, the questions that are asked, how you're going to collect data, what themes, what results you might come up with, and particularly what type of action plan you're going to recommend at the end. One final part in this procedure is making sure that this does not further marginalize or threaten the participants in the project. So those challenges are deciding what lens to use, where and how to thread that lens in the different basic design procedures of a mixed methods project, and conducting the study that doesn't further marginalize the participants. The third and final type of advanced mixed methods design is a multi-stage evaluation mixed methods design. Now you can see in this picture I have several stages in this project. This would be, for example, you're going to evaluate the success of a program in a community health setting. It might begin by a needs assessment, so a qualitative stage, where you collect interviews, observations, documents. It might then build into a theory building, more of a quantitative stage, where you're reviewing the literature and you're actually coming up with an explanatory quantitative theory. From that stage, you might then build an instrument or measures to actually test in this community. So now we're to a quantitative stage. This would then be followed by implementing a program that might actually work, a health program, a program to improve the lives of the individuals in a community. So this could be a quantitative implementation stage. An experiment could be done. Finally, there might be some follow-up to this experiment where you're looking at how the program worked and trying to refine it. And so you have a qualitative stage. So you can see there are multiple stages in this evaluation design, all focused towards understanding whether a program works, moving back and forth between quantitative stages and qualitative stages. So the way these mixed method studies are conducted would be first to identify the overall objective of the evaluation. What are you trying to accomplish with the evaluation? Plan out multiple stages in the study that include both quantitative and qualitative stages. Have these stages build on each other, one following the other. So from the exploratory qualitative needs assessment, we then move to a quantitative theory. We then move to a program instrument that could be tested out. And tie all of these stages together with the thought of addressing an overall purpose for the evaluation, what you're trying to accomplish. Some of the challenges in doing this, you can see with all of these different stages, it takes resources and research team members and funding. Decide on the steps in the evaluation. These steps that I've mentioned are just one model that could be used. And then coordinate the steps so that one phase leads into the next phase. So what I've discussed here are 3 advanced mixed methods designs, the intent of each design and its procedures for how you might conduct it, and the challenges in using these designs. And with this background, I think you can move beyond the basic designs to more advanced mixed methods design project. Thank you.